After a long diplomatic battle to maintain and impose Cameroon's sovereignty and authority on the Bakassi Peninsula in the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, the place is suffering, affected by a plethora of underdevelopment challenges, making life quite difficult for inhabitants of that part of the Republic of Cameroon. Tonight, we're going to take you to the Bakassi Peninsula with our correspondent Derek Jato, who is going to paint the picture of challenges that inhabitants of the area, notably fishermen, are facing, and also he will present to us some aid coming from the administration to rescue the situation. A government primary school, École publique d'application de Bonamoussadi, Group 1 et 2, that school has remained closed after 9 teachers and 10 pupils were tested positive for the coronavirus. Parents of pupils of the school are stranded. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on this news hour on Équinoxe Television. We are broadcasting from Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, and my name is Pablo Jonathan. We begin this newscast in the Bakassi Peninsula, a territory obtained by Cameroon after a long diplomatic struggle with neighboring Nigeria, and President Paul Biya's government had to go through the diplomatic struggle to maintain the country's authority and sovereignty in that part of the country. And several years after the diplomatic battle was won by Cameroon, the area has been in chronic underdevelopment with a plethora of challenges affecting the area and its inhabitants. Tonight, Derek Jato, a correspondent in the southwest region, takes us to some parts of the Bakassi Peninsula, and he talks about the challenges that the people are facing, notably fishermen, and some aid brought by the Yaoundé administration to help rescue the deplorable situation. His report.
Will I get fish? No fish. No fish. Why they go water again? Okay. They go water, but there's no fish. Fish in there.
They say there's no fish anywhere, but administrators here say that is not true.
That has always been our cry. Let the produce, what we get from the sea, go to mainland Cameroon, not to Nigeria. This has always been the case.
The population of Bakassi depends solely on fishing, and to the fishermen, these Cameroonian waters is a fertile ground for their activity, but not a good market for their catch. And research have revealed that 90% of these fishermen are foreigners, leaving Cameroon, which is also in need of fish, empty. And to redress the situation, per the findings of the Bakassi Peninsula Development Program, BADEPT, the implementing body of all projects in the peninsula, the fishing population should first be equipped to make them see reasons to market their catch in Cameroon. And today, the Cameroon Ministry of Livestock, Fishery and Animal Industries handed constructed houses materials, fishing equipment, and fishing boat engines to these fishermen through BADEPT. And before handing over the consignment, the Bakassi Peninsula Development Program held an orientation committee meeting to review the grounds covered and to discuss other projects in the pipeline for the Bakassi people. During the symbolic handing over at this island of Jabane in the Edabatu subdivision, and in the presence of the mayors of the 5 subdivisions that make up the Bakassi Peninsula, Iwane Roland, the divisional officer for Edabatu subdivision, called for Cameroonians to come and take the opportunities.
We have a lot of opportunities here in Edabatu. The fishing industry is a very big one. I'm calling on Cameroonians to come and stay in Edabatu. This is our territory. Let us make use of our territory and stay.
Antume Etungo Efange Edem of the Dabato Council. It is a dream come true.
On behalf of population, I promise government that this gift will serve a purpose and will go a long way. We will uplift the bottom of the entire Cameroonian fishermen.
It is therefore expected that in the nearest future, there should be enough fish in Cameroonian market from this fish plenty peninsula.
Coronavirus shuts down a primary school here in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. The doors of government primary school known as École Maternelle d'Application Groupe 1 et 2 have remained closed after 9 teachers and over 10 pupils were tested positive for the coronavirus, and that nursery school remains closed till now, and parents of pupils who were schooling there are stranded, not knowing what is going to happen with the future of their children as far as the current academic year is concerned. Innocent has more.
A deserted nursery school, École Maternelle d'Application Group 1 and 2, Bonamoussadi, in the Douala 5 subdivision. Since start of the week, only the ghost could be seen in the usual busy school. The gate is locked for no entry. Even parents who paid for their kids to be impacted knowledge are baffled, worried and frustrated. Parents have not been explained why this action was taken. The director has not told them anything. That if the school is shutting down, her child's school fees for the academic year be refunded. In reality, at least 9 teachers and 10 pupils of this nursery school have been tested positive for the COVID-19.
Nous avons à peu près 9 cas d'enseignants. Environ une dizaine de cas d'élèves.
According to the Littoral Regional Delegates of Basic Education, in such a situation, adequate measures have to be taken. The first measure was to inform sanitation personnel to disinfect the school compound and to observe a 1-week break to ensure all who have been tested positive are quarantined.
Il fallait désinfecter les lieux. Il fallait observer une pause.
The cases were detected on Monday, February 15th, after over 80% of the school tested. 10 teachers were positive.
Convenez avec moi qu'il faut protéger et la communauté éducative.
The regional delegate says all of those tested negative will resume school, while those tested positive will be in quarantine. The 25% of parents who refuse their children be tested are known, and their children shall not be allowed to resume until they present a negative test result.
Et les 20% qui n'ont pas accepté se faire tester ne reviendront à l'école que sur présentation d'un bilan de test négatif.
After the 1-week break, doors of this educational establishment, École Maternelle d'Application Group 1 and 2, Bonamoussadi, will be reopened on Monday, February 22nd, 2021.
In Banga, in the Mongo Division, Littoral Region of Cameroon, the divisional officer of that administrative unit is stepping up the fight against non-respect of anti-COVID-19 measures by the population. He was on the street today checking against this problem of people failing to respect the COVID-19 measures, notably the wearing of masks and also social or physical distancing. And he urged the population to continue respecting the COVID-19 measures, indicating or telling them that coronavirus is still there, is still present. It was with Smanjik and Gebre.
It was an unusual outing made by the divisional officer of Mbanga in the Mongo division, Tembo Christian Nkefo, who recently took up duties. In his first outing, took road users and the population of Mbanga by surprise as he made an on-the-spot check of face masks in a move to sensitize the inhabitants of his area of jurisdiction about the importance of still maintaining the 13 barrier measures put up by government to fight against COVID-19. Washing of hands and putting on of face masks in public places, which has been abandoned by the inhabitants in Banga, was re-echoed to them again as checks on face mask and compulsory washing of hands was the order of the day. Many inhabitants of Banga praised the move of the divisional officer. It's something laudable. As an administrator, it's important that he encourages everyone to wash his or her hands and put on their face mask. The outing of Tembo Christian came at a time when the Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manauda Malashi, recently published on his Twitter handle the latest figures of infected persons in Cameroon, insisting that the 13 measures laid out by the head of state should be respected.
For so many years, the problem of congestion has been persisting, notably on the container terminal at the Douala seaport, and this has been a problem which became hard, not just too difficult to crack for the authorities who were managing that aspect or that part of the Douala seaport till 2019, but the new management of the container terminal of the Douala seaport said this problem is no longer existing. Much has been done to clear off the problem of congestion on the container terminal of the Douala seaport. Now take a listen to Foster Dinkana. He is the Director General of Container Terminal Management. This is a platform being managed by Cameroonians.
Our productivity in 2020 was higher than the productivity in 2019. We're able to offload ships by doing 19.30 movement per hour, almost 20 movement per hour. In 2019, it was 17.9 movement per hour, meaning that by our organization, by the means that we're using and our strategy, we're able to handle vessel, to treat vessel very fast in such a way that I don't think if you heard that there was any congestion in the port in 2020. No congestion. We're able to take any vessel that came to us, to treat it and the length of time given and operate it appropriately. There's no congestion. We have a high occupancy rate of our yard. High occupancy rate is not congestion. This occupancy rate comes as a result of a strategy position that we have taken not to transfer container to the inland container depot, not to increase costs to our shippers. It has resulted to the high occupancy rate of our yards, the main yard of the terminal. Decide the level of occupancy of the yard that is compatible with your ability to continue working. It's not a problem, high occupancy of the yard. You have to analyze to see which one is more harmful to your economy, and then you make a decision. Having high occupancy of the yard is less harmful to the global economy than increasing charges for 1 billion. So, but the high occupancy of the yard has not led to congestion. There's no congestion. So we make the choice to have the high occupancy of the yard.
Container terminal management body at the Douala seaport. What has been done between January 2020 till this moment, the period during which that terminal has been managed by Cameroonians? It should be noted that it was first of all managed by foreigners before January 2020. What has been done during this period? This is what he told us.
We have been able to realize, as you know, the statistic was given to you by our collaborators, the director of exploitation give you all the statistics, and you quite know that we were able in 2020 to handle 328 vessels, container vessels and ro-ro vessels, against 337 in 2019. When you put this figure, when you analyze them, you can realize that though we had a very difficult condition, our terminal was still attractive. That's why we could be able to receive 328 vessels, a container vessel, in a very difficult context. We were able, during this period, to deliver to our client, the shippers, 123,296 containers. Sorry for me. 123,293 containers delivered during the year. You should note that in 2019, this container vessel, this terminal delivered 116,278 containers. When you compare the two periods, 2020 and 2019, you realize that 2020 we had delivered more container than in 2019. In a very difficult context, we were able to deliver more container, meaning that we were rapid in delivering, and it shows how resilient was our economy. We handled 71,978 containers for export. In 2019, the former operator handled 75,978 containers. We had a turnover of sales revenue of 49,855,971,000 francs CFA. So 49 billion francs is the turnover or the sales revenue that we had in 2020. If you want to compare it with the sales revenue or the turnover of 2019, it could be noted that in the year 2019, the former operator did 48,458,000,000 francs CFA turnover or sales revenue. But if you want really to compare it, you must take into consideration a rebate that we made to shippers on shore handling charges. We made a rebate of 10% on the tariff, on our tariff. And this rebate was considered as the 1st of January 2020. So this rebate was able to give back to our economy, to our shippers, to realize, I think, a reduction of their charges that they pay to the container terminal management of 3,400,000,000.
That is what has been done so far. Now, about what will be done in the next 10 years, we ask this question to the top management of the container terminal management of the Douala Seaport, and the director talked about a 3-year and 10-year investment plan. Details in this extract.
The challenge is, first of all, to have people who are trained, and we have them. Our people are well trained. We have a plan of recruiting new staff and train them, because some people are going on retirement. We have what we call in French plan des effectifs. We have it. And then we have an investment plan for 3 years. We have investment plan for 10 years, 2021, 2030. So this investment plan would permit us to renew all equipment and to make sure that because the investment plan goes as an analyst of the economy of our country. We analyze the economy and we see what could be the demand of the economy in regard to the container that will come in. What would be the demand? And then from there, we would be able to say this is the number of equipment that would need to handle this demand. Let's say today we are able to deliver 129,000 containers for a year. It can come the next year, it would be 200,000, not only 100,000 containers. What is the level of the equipment and the type of the equipment that we need to handle that demand? So then we make a plan. You will see the plan for 10 years is every year we'll do something, and this plan will be entirely financed by our revenue. We would first of all use our proper revenue, and then we would borrow money from the bank. But all this money that we could borrow from the bank, we will have to reimburse it from our sales revenue to renew all our equipment which is here, and to increase the capacity of the terminal to receive more containers. We will increase the capacity of the terminal. We will even increase the length of the quay so that we are able to receive more vessels.
The Government Bilingual Teacher Training College has graduated another batch of students, and this batch recorded an 85.25 success rate, which is slightly better than the last year's batch, which recorded an 84% success rate. And of course, we have details in this report compiled by Charles Sekome.
A number of 512 candidates registered to the last session of the teachers training examinations in Douala, with 412 of them answering present for the examinations, but finally 314 got admission into the Government Bilingual Teachers Training College, GBTTC, Douala. This institution recorded an 85.25% success rate, which is slightly better than the 84% success rate in the 2019-2020 academic year. Thus, in honor of the success of these candidates, who are now certified teachers, a graduation ceremony was organized at the institution under the chairmanship of the Senior Divisional Officer for Wuri, in the company of other public and civil administrators.
I think I am coming to encourage these students who are coming to our image, and I think they are the students who are very, very good to be the citizen who can go to training the young of our country.
These newly certified teachers also expressed the challenges they faced during their training and what they expect of the government.
We encountered so many difficulties during the training because the training was so stressful, difficult. It was nice by the end because we had so many teachers, our director in the school, that gave us courage, and we really wish that the government should bring out concourse so that we can write and be a government teacher directly after our training.
The director of the Government Bilingual Teaching Training College, Bida Vudi Jacques, also expressed his gratitude to government officials for making the dreams of so many young Cameroonians possible despite the coronavirus pandemic. Despite the coronavirus pandemic, we were able to make better results as compared to last year. That's why we are celebrating these graduates today with joy filled in our hearts. It is a new journey which has begun for these young graduates who will have to return to the classrooms, but this time to exercise the function of being a teacher.
Coming up, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, first woman, first African to lead the World Trade Organization, x-rays the continent's problems.
Low-hanging fruit is one, preparing a very successful MC12 that will come out with outcomes. And within that, completing the fisheries subsidies. Low-hanging fruit may be a bit, people might say it's not as easy, but I do feel it's within reach for us to agree on that. Another low-hanging fruit is dealing with the pandemic. I think we can come to some agreements on that and tick that off. The third one is agreeing the work program for solving the dispute settlement mechanism. I'm not saying solving it, just agreeing the work program. I think we can get to MC12 with a work program that will work. And then there are a few other things like, can we get to agreement on exempting the World Food Program, for instance, from export restrictions so that humanitarian...
I believe that the way forward is to learn to manage success. Very often when people succeed or countries succeed, they forget what made them succeed. Learning what you're successful at, managing it and keeping it is vital for us. Managing the economy while creating stability is vital, getting prices right. And policy consistency. Very often, we are not consistent. One regime goes out, another comes in, and they throw away even the functioning policies that were there before. What does this do? It creates uncertainties for people, for household, uncertainties for business. They don't know whether and how to invest. We must manage the success we had in reducing our debt. But now countries are back to borrowing again, and we see our debt to GDP ratio beginning to creep up. And in certain countries, debt is becoming a problem. So we have to avoid that. So managing success. The next thing is focusing with a laser beam on those things we did not do well. First and foremost is infrastructure. Yes, most countries now recognize.
Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, Director General of the World Trade Organization, proposing some solutions to the problems hindering the development of African nations. Now, we take a look at the problems. What are the specific problems that are hindering the development of African nations? They move to the level of industrialized nations is hindered by several problems, and among them are 8 main problems that are hindering the development of African continent, of the African nations, according to Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. Take a listen to her.
Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, former Nigerian's finance minister, becomes first woman and African to lead the Switzerland-based institution, World Trade Organization, WTO, following her appointment on Monday, January 15th, during a General Council meeting. The 66-year-old, who was strongly supported by U.S. President Joe Biden, wears the crown of Director General of WTO at a time the world's economy is being crippled by COVID-19. Her major preoccupation is strangulating the COVID-19 pandemic to save the world's economy.
Will help the world economy to also bounce back further. So it can play a role on the health side and the economic side. I would also like to see a longer term framework set up for response to pandemics. So not just solving this immediate problem, but we are going to have more pandemics in future. And I think the WTO should get with other international organizations like the WHO, Gavi, CEPI, even the World Bank, IMF, and all those.
Talking Point is up next. Thank you for staying with us today. We are receiving a civil society leader, President of the United Africa for Economic Empowerment, Professor Akumbom Makantoni. Thanks for joining us today.
It's my pleasure, Mr. Jonathan, and I think having the opportunity to be here means that I am placed with the challenge to be able to not only educate Africans on what it takes to be free from the economic stress in which we find ourselves, but also to educate my fellow Cameroonians on what we should be doing right now to make sure Cameroon actually attains emissions 2035 according to the president's dreams. And you know, for a long period of time, some of us will believe that Africa is the poorest continent, but that is a statement that I will never accept with, because Africa had never been a poor continent. Africans are poor, but Africa is the richest continent in the world.
Africa is the richest continent in the world. Before we go continental, I want your reaction on some of the recent atrocities recorded in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. A young man in Du, tortured severely to near death by military, gendarmerie and police officers. And before that, there were 3 traditional rulers who were brought to the village square in a Seoul village and killed in public.
You see, Jonathan, to be sincere with you, Cameroon has entered a stage in which if nothing is done, we might continue like this for the next 10 years and plus. The situation that happened in Ndu, to be precise, was very shameful, considering that we're dealing with professional armed men, the military of our nation, whom for the past while had always been appreciated. They had been distanced from every 40 acts that happened around the community. But this time, they by themselves had to use a video, in fact, to make a video out of their malicious acts. If you saw the way they were torturing the young man, you realize that is something that they enjoy doing, because I heard some of them say, this is the way we do it when we deal with students in the University of SWA. Some say, so when you heard the way they were communicating, no, it's something that is normal. It is their normal way of acting. But we want to believe that they are the professional who are supposed to give the best to the community. They are sent out there to protect the community, not to harass the community. And so that particular act, Mr. Jonathan, was very, very barbaric, which I think, like the Geo of Ndu came out and actually asked that those guys be brought to book. I think that is what an administrator should have done, and he did it well. That called now for the communicator of the defense to actually speak out, because in that case, one of them had already spoken, because it would have been possible for that to be hidden again, like many others have done. I remember the Ngabo situation when it happened, they came out and denounced the situation until when there was a presidential inquiry that was sent to deal with the issue. So that is a system in which we live in. And looking at what happened, you see there is desecration of our culture, where you can see people have access to the king, have access to the traditional rulers of a village, and openly assassinated before the market square and before the subjects. That is to make you understand how barbaric Cameroon is getting, where individuals find it very normal to kill. That is a very, very terrible act, and it is supposed to be condemned. But the question is, every day we do these condemnations, why is it that nothing is changing? It is aching that every day people get to die, but nothing is changing in relation to solutions. I have asked this question for a long period of time. We have lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. The number keeps increasing. And I looked the other day at the statistics that was given in relation to the number of military people that have fallen. I was disturbed. It was counting 1,000 something military people. The question is, does that not affect the Cameroon government? When you look at this situation in Gabu, where young children, a baby of 3 months was killed, what do you think is that? Look at what happened in Kumba, Resen, where young kids who were going to school to learn were killed. Jonathan, it is really aching that
you will not say that it is not affecting the government, because the government is at work seeking for solutions.
If we claim that we are seeking for solutions and we keep on coming up with cosmetic solutions to a problem that is killing and eating of our society, then we are not actually looking for solutions. Because, to be sincere with you, the only way to deal with this problem is that the war should end. It is not about giving cosmetic solutions or window dressing solutions to a problem that is so pertinent and strong, eating up the community and the society as a whole. Let me be sincere with you. The economic situation of Cameroon right now is so poor that if you look into it, you realize that people are barely struggling to live. But where does it come from? The money that was supposed to be pumped in making the society run well is used in war. And I'll be sincere to tell you this. Using an economic mindset, when you put money in the military, it is a liability. They consume, they don't produce. But if you want to see an economy increase, you must invest in assets, implying that you must put into what will bring back. But when you give it to the military eats the money. They buy all those military hardwares that they have. It is depreciating with time. It doesn't bring anything to the economy.
But without security, it will be impossible to invest. Practically impossible to invest. Security is almost a prerequisite.
Is preeminent, Mr. Jonathan. It's preeminent. But I want to make this clear to you that Cameroonians, as the whole are a peaceful people who do not like this. When you see situations like this, it's as a result of the grievances that a lot of people have been nursing in their hearts. What we have happening in the Northwest and Southwest today is an HO situation that even the president knows it, and every one of his ministers knows that this is as a result of the grievances that have been nursed for a long period of time. And if you have to go back into 1961, I want to quote the words of Dag Hammarskjöld, when the two Cameroons were supposed to be brought together. He made a statement bringing the Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroun together under one nation is like pushing a balloon under the sea. And what happened is it will come out. And that is exactly what is happening right now. You can't deceive a people for a long time and think you can keep on hiding. Those are some of the problems. And if Cameroon government is wise enough, what brought them together was supposed to be maintained. And that is why every given moment when I talk, I will say Cameroon has the solution to the problem and they know it very well. So let them just solve the problem and put it down. Let me be sincere to tell you this. When a nation lacks economic strength, the result is one of these. You see theft, you see rebellion, you see all kinds of things. And I will always say, even though we have the Cameroon problem found in its manner of independence, hidden in it, there is also another problem, which is that of economics. Our eating together. Every moment you hear our people will say mangeons ensemble, vivons ensemble. But when they talk of vivons ensemble, they don't talk of mangeons ensemble. And that is where there's a problem. We need to be able to eat together while we are living together. But in Cameroon, you want people to live together, but they should not eat together with you. And that is wrong. And so they need to correct that. Let those people have what they need to eat, and this problem will disappear.
This problem will disappear. Now, at the level of the continent, this issue of security or insecurity has been identified as one of the major stumbling blocks to Africa's development. Recently, in neighboring Nigeria, about 27 pupils were kidnapped and over 12 staff members and close to 50 persons globally were kidnapped there with the Boko Haram issue that continues, and there is Al-Shabaab. There are other security issues almost everywhere around the continent.
Republic. We can keep naming all over. Let me come back to point this to you. When I said the problem is not just the problem of the manner of independence, it has to do also with the economic situation. That is a situation that is all over Africa. There is a lot of greed in the hearts of those who are leading African nations. They are very greedy because they want to keep it all for themselves. And when you live and lead from that particular perspective, what it will result is there will be rioting. People get to hold on to situations for a while, but at a particular period of time, it bursts out. So what we have right now that is happening in Africa, I'll quote to you. When you go to Central African Republic, we have problems. When you go to Congo, we have problems. When you come to Mali, we have problems. You go to the north, we have problems. You come to the south, in Mozambique, there is problem. Why do you think the whole of Africa is in chaos? People saying that war. Where did war come from? War comes from an inner issue. When people entertain pain for a long period of time, a particular period of time comes when they want to release it, because like volcano that is actually increasing from within. When there is no vein for it to come out, what do you expect?
It will explode. It
will explode, and when it explodes, these are the result: wars. So we need to go back. If Cameroon, our African leaders need to see into it that the war that we have stops, then they need to go back, realizing that African continent as a whole is the richest continent in the world. It is an irony how we are the richest, but we receive aid from Europe. We are the poorest at the same time. We have all what it takes to stop receiving aid from Europe. We have all what it takes to readjust our economy to be able to trade on a bilateral position and from
on an equal
ground. We have all that. But what is happening? We have greedy men and women who are leading. When they take over leadership, they want to consolidate everything for themselves. And consolidating everything for themselves, they lead the others to riot, and it results to a war. It results to all the problems we have around. So you will not say that the war just came. The war came because of grievances that people are bearing. And as I said, it came from mismanagement of the wealth of the land.
Mismanagement of the wealth of the land. In some few words, what should be done? To actually solve this problem, we need to first of all build institutions in African governments that will permit that our institutions and systems should be the ones that should be stronger, not the individuals. Because when we have strong individuals when it comes to politics, they control the entire thing, the economy, and when they control the economy, they destroy it. So we need institutions that are stronger than individuals, like what we have in the United States, where irrespective of the fact that a president says that I have been cheated, I can do, the institution says no, you have been won, he leaves. But in Africa, it will not happen. It's rare. So we need strong institutions that can permit that good management should take place, accountability should be in place. That's what I expect. Professor Akumbom Makantoni, civil society leader, president of United Africa for Economic Empowerment. Thank you for joining us today.
It's my pleasure.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. Equinoxe is up next.